Welcome to Business Technology Platform Landscape Planning. Today we'll learn how to plan your BTP setup. This means deciding which BTP services you need and how to arrange them for your business. For example, a retailer might use SAP Integration Suite to connect their online store with inventory systems. Proper planning ensures your BTP environment supports your goals efficiently from the start. Think of this as creating a blueprint for your cloud space. This means carefully designing your SAP BTP setup before building it, just like architects plan buildings. For example, you'd decide where to place development, testing, and production environments. Proper planning ensures your cloud solutions are organized, secure, and scalable from the start. Good planning makes everything easier to manage. This means organizing your BTP setup thoughtfully from the start to avoid confusion later. For instance, defining clear account structures and environments upfront helps teams deploy solutions smoothly. This foundational step ensures your BTP journey is efficient and scalable. We'll use simple templates and real examples. This means we provide straightforward planning tools and show actual business scenarios. For instance, a company might use our template to securely connect their online store to SAP SAP. This practical approach ensures you can immediately apply these methods to your own landscape planning. What is a business technology platform landscape? A landscape is how you organize your BTE resources. This means grouping your tools and services logically, like separating development from production environments. For example, a company might have one landscape for testing new apps and another for running live business processes. This structure keeps your work secure and manageable. It's like planning rooms in a house for different purposes. This means organizing your BTP account into separate areas for development, testing, and production, keeping them isolated for safety and clarity. For example, you build an app in the dev space, test it in quality assurance, and only run the final version in production. This structure ensures a controlled and reliable path for your applications. Includes subaccounts, regions, and environments. This means your BTP setup is organized into separate project spaces, runs in specific global data centers, and supports different development tools. For instance, a company might have a subaccount in Europe for its HR app using the Cloud Foundry environment. This structure provides the organized foundation for all your cloud applications and services. Good organization supports your business needs. This means structuring your BTP account, directories, and subaccounts logically to match your company's structure and processes. For example, a retail company might create separate subaccounts for its e-commerce and in-store sales applications. This clear setup ensures resources are managed efficiently and scale with your operations. Start with your business needs. First, understand what your business requires. This means identifying your specific problems or goals before choosing any technology. For example, a company needing faster customer reports would focus on analytics services, not mobile development. Always begin with the business need to ensure your SAP BTP solution delivers real value. List your main business processes. This means identifying the core activities your company performs daily. For example, a retail store would list steps like purchasing inventory, selling products, and managing customer returns. Clearly defining these processes is the essential first step to effectively using SAP BTP to improve them. Identify who needs access to what. This means determining which users require permissions to specific applications or data. For example, a sales team needs access to the customer database, but not to HR payroll systems. Clearly defining these access needs ensures both security and efficiency from the start. Consider your team structure and responsibilities. This means understanding who will build, manage, and use your SAP solutions and what tasks they own. For example, if your developers are skilled in Java, you might choose the Cloud Foundry environment. Aligning the platform with your team's capabilities ensures a smoother implementation and operation. Understanding subaccounts in SAP Business Technology Platform. Subaccounts are like separate workspaces in BTP. Think of them as individual rooms where different teams can work independently without interfering with each other. For example, your development team can build apps in one subaccount while production runs in another. This keeps your projects organized and secure within your global account. Each can have different settings and users. This means every subaccount operates independently with unique configurations and assigned personnel. For example, one subaccount could run development with test data for engineers, while another handles production with live data for the operations team. This structure allows tailored management and secure access control for distinct business needs. You can organize them by team, project, or environment. This means grouping subaccounts logically to manage access and resources efficiently. For example, create separate subaccounts for your development, testing, and production teams. This structure helps maintain clear boundaries and simplifies administration for each distinct group. They help keep things secure and organized. This means you can separate different projects or teams, controlling access and resources so only authorized users can interact with specific applications and data. For example, you could have one subaccount for development and another for production. This structure ensures your work is protected and neatly arranged. Planning your subaccount structure for SAP BTP. Create subaccounts for different purposes. This means organizing your BTP environment into separate areas for distinct tasks like development, testing, and production. For example, a company would have one subaccount for developers to build apps and another for running the final, live application. This separation keeps your projects secure and well managed. Common approach: development, testing, production. This means creating 3 separate environments, one for building solutions, one for verifying they work correctly, and one for the final live use. For instance, a team develops a new app in development, validates it in testing, and then launches it for all users in production. This structure ensures organized and safe progression of your applications. You might add more for different teams or projects. This means creating separate subaccounts when multiple groups work independently. For example, your development and testing teams would each get their own sub-account to avoid conflicts. This approach keeps environments organized and secure for each unique purpose. Keep it simple to start, you can add more later. Begin with a single sub-account for development, as complexity can grow over time. For example, a retail company might use one sub-account for all initial testing before adding separate ones for production. This approach ensures manageable growth without overwhelming your team from day one. Selecting the optimal region for your deployment. Regions are where your data is physically stored. This means your business information resides in actual data centers located in specific geographic areas. For instance, choosing Europe, Frankfurt region keeps all customer records within German data centers. This physical location directly impacts your data compliance and latency requirements. Choose based on where your users are located. This means selecting the data center region closest to your main user base to ensure faster access and better performance. For example, if your users are primarily in Europe, deploy in Frankfurt rather than the US. This reduces latency and improves their experience with your applications. Consider data privacy requirements. This means selecting a region whose data protection laws align with your company's policies. For instance, a European company must often use the Europe, Frankfurt region to comply with GDPR. Adhering to these regulations from the start ensures your data handling is legally compliant and secure. Some services are only available in certain regions. This means specific SAP BTP capabilities might not be deployed everywhere globally. For instance, the SAP Data Intelligence Service might only be operational in Europe and the US initially. Therefore, your regional selection directly impacts which solutions you can implement from the start. Selecting the optimal region in SAP BTP Cockpit. Go to your global account in BTP Cockpit. This is your central management space for all your cloud resources. For instance, if your company operates in Europe and the US, you select the region here to deploy applications closer to your users. This ensures your services are optimally located for performance. Click Create Subaccount button. This action starts the process of setting up your dedicated space in the desired region. For instance, if your users are in Europe, you'd click this button to begin creating a subaccount in the Frankfurt region. This is the essential first step to deploy your applications and services in a specific geographic location. Choose from the region drop-down list. This means selecting your desired geographic location where SAP BTP services will run. For example, if your users are in Europe, pick Europe, Frankfurt for faster performance. This ensures your applications and data reside in the correct legal and physical jurisdiction. The cockpit shows available options for your account. This means the system displays a list of regions you can choose from based on your account's entitlements. For example, if your company is based in Europe, you might select the EU10 region. This ensures you pick a location that works for your setup. Strategic planning for scalable business growth. Start with what you need today. This means implementing only the essential BTP services your current business requires, not overbuilding for future possibilities. For instance, begin with SAP Build apps for one mobile workflow rather than developing multiple applications simultaneously. This focused approach ensures faster implementation and immediate value while building a solid foundation for future expansion. Leave room to add more sub-accounts later. This means designing your initial BTP setup with extra capacity, so you can easily add new sub-accounts for future projects or departments without restructuring. For example, start with 5 sub-accounts even if you only need 3 today, allowing space for 2 more teams next year. This forward-thinking approach prevents costly reconfigurations down the line. Think about how your business might grow. This means choosing a platform that can easily handle more users, data, and new features without major overhauls. For instance, an online store must be ready for holiday sales spikes. Planning for this scalability from the start ensures your technology supports, not hinders, your success. Good planning makes expansion easy. This means designing your SAP BTP setup from the start to handle more users, data, and processes without major rework. For example, a retail company can start with one region and seamlessly add more because their initial architecture supports it. This foresight prevents costly disruptions and keeps your growth path smooth. Development to production flow. Create separate sub-accounts for each stage. This means isolating your development, testing, and live environments to prevent accidental changes. For instance, developers work in a dev sub-account, testers use a test sub-account, and the final application runs in a prod sub-account. This clear separation is fundamental for stable and secure application deployment. Development, where you build and experiment. This is the initial phase where you create and test new applications freely. For instance, a developer builds a trial employee feedback app here, testing features without affecting live systems. It's a safe space to innovate and refine your ideas before moving forward. Testing, where you check everything works. This means verifying all parts of your application function correctly before it goes live. For example, you would test that a new online shopping cart correctly adds items and calculates the total price. Ensuring everything works here prevents major issues for your end users later. Production, where real business happens. This means the final system where actual company operations and transactions occur daily. For example, a live online store processing real customer orders and payments. This environment is critical for business continuity and revenue generation. Cost considerations for your SAP BTP implementation. More sub-accounts don't necessarily cost more. This means creating separate environments doesn't automatically increase your bill as you are billed for actual resource consumption. For instance, setting up development, testing, and production sub-accounts uses the same subscription pool. Therefore, structure your landscape based on needs without worrying about additional costs. Cost depends on what services you use in each. This means you are billed separately for every BTP service you activate, like building blocks. For example, using SAP HANA Cloud and the integration suite will incur separate charges. So, Your total bill is simply the sum of all the services you choose to utilize. Start with what you need, add as you grow. This means initially using only essential BTP services to control costs, then scaling up resources as your business expands. For example, begin with a single app on the Cloud Foundry runtime. As user demand increases, add more memory or instances. This approach ensures efficient spending aligned with your actual growth. You can monitor costs in the cockpit. This means you can view and track your service spending directly in the BTP platform's interface. For example, if you use the SAP HANA Cloud Service, you can see its monthly cost in the Usage Analytics section. Staying aware of your expenses helps you manage your budget effectively. Your planning checklist. List your business processes. This means identifying all the tasks your company performs, like sales or manufacturing. For example, a retailer would list steps from receiving an order to shipping the product. Clearly defining these processes is the essential first step for a successful SAP BTP implementation. Identify user groups and access needs. This means determining who will use the system and what specific permissions they require. For example, a finance team needs access to billing data, but not development tools. Properly defining these roles from the start ensures a secure and efficient system setup. Choose your regions. This means selecting the geographic data centers where your SAP BTP services will physically run. For example, a company in Europe might choose the Frankfurt region to ensure fast data access for its local users. This foundational decision impacts performance and compliance from the start. Plan your sub-account structure. This means organizing your BTP environment into logical, secure units for different projects or teams. For example, create separate sub-accounts for development, testing, and production. This foundational step ensures proper isolation and management of your applications and services from the start. Consider future growth needs. This means designing your BTP setup to handle increased users, data, or services over time without a major overhaul. For example, if you start with one app, ensure your architecture can support 10 more later. Building with scalability in mind saves significant time and cost down the line. Let's practice together. We'll use a sample company scenario. This means we'll apply SAP BTP concepts to a fictional business, making it easier to understand how the platform solves real problems. For instance, imagine a retail company using BTP to build a mobile app for tracking real-time inventory levels. This hands-on approach will solidify your learning. Follow along with the planning template. This means using a structured document to outline your project steps, ensuring nothing is missed. For instance, when launching a new employee portal, the template helps you schedule development, testing, and deployment phases in order. This organized approach keeps your project on track and efficient. We'll create a complete landscape plan. This means mapping out all the environments needed for your project, like development, testing, and production. For example, a company might set up separate areas for building, trying out, and finally running their new employee portal. This careful planning ensures your entire solution is organized and secure from start to finish. You can adapt this for your own organization. This means you can customize the solution to fit your company's unique processes. For example, if your organization uses specific approval workflows, you can modify the BTP application to match those steps. This flexibility ensures the technology aligns perfectly with your business needs. Key takeaways. Good planning saves time and prevents problems. This means thinking ahead about what you need and how to do it, so you avoid mistakes and extra work later. For example, planning your BTP services before starting a project ensures you don't waste time fixing wrong setups. A little planning upfront makes the entire process smoother and more efficient. Start with your business needs. This means your SAP BTP projects should be driven by specific problems or goals, not just by the available technology. For example, if you need to provide real-time delivery tracking to customers, that business need guides which BTP services you select. Always let your business objectives lead your technical implementation. Keep it simple and organized. This means avoiding unnecessary complexity in your BTP solutions and maintaining a clear structure. For instance, use a consistent naming convention for your projects and services so they're easy to identify. A well-organized approach saves time and reduces errors during development and maintenance. You can always adjust as you learn more. This means your SAP BTP solutions can evolve as you gain new insights. For example, start with basic user authentication, then later add multi-factor authentication as security needs grow. This flexibility ensures your investment remains valuable over time.